everyone. In today's video, we'll be going over how to use the Anchored VWAP on TradingView. The volume weighted average price, also known as VWAP, is a popular indicator amongst traders. This indicator not only clues you into market sentiment, but can also act as a tradable reference point. However, its value ends with each trading session. That's great if you plan to close your positions each day, and if day trading futures is your thing, we encourage you to learn how to do it. But what about anyone who wants to swing trade? For that, we need to expand VWAP into something new. That is the Anchored VWAP, a tool available in TradingView. The traditional VWAP is bound by the start and end of each trading session, while the Anchored VWAP allows you to pick whatever starting point you want. If you want to look at the volume-weighted average price on the S&P Mini Futures for the last month, all we would need to do is set the starting point for the Anchored VWAP for the first day of the current month. Such a simple adjustment opens up a world of possibilities, and that's what we're going to cover. In this video, we'll go over how Anchored VWAP works, setting up Anchored VWAP in TradingView, interpreting Anchored VWAP, trading strategies that use Anchored VWAP, and common mistakes and how to avoid them. So let's start with how Anchored VWAP works. Imagine you go to the store and buy two chairs, one for $50 and the other for $100. Your volume-weighted average price paid is $75. That's exactly how VWAP works. The math goes like this. Multiply every transaction price by the volume of shares or contracts, add all that together, and then divide it by the total volume of shares or contracts. VWAP always starts at the beginning of each trading session. It's extremely volatile early in the day when there hasn't been a lot of trading yet. As the day progresses, VWAP becomes more stable. To show that in TradingView, we can go onto any chart and click on Indicators, search for Volume Weighted Average Price. Click on that to put it on our chart. And for this example, we'll go into Settings and remove the bands because we only want to see Volume Weighted Average Price. And we can see here that at the end of each trading session, it will reset. In TradingView, it will connect that line, but on other platforms like Optimus Flow, it will show a gap. So this is the start of a new trading session, and VWAP has been reset. And then as the session goes on, it will calculate throughout the session and then reset at the end of that session. While VWAP is an incredible tool, it's ultimately limited by time constraints. That's what makes Anchored VWAP so powerful. You can set its starting point anywhere you like, even somewhere intraday. Anchored VWAP will begin its calculations from that point, continuing until you say otherwise. Now let's see what Anchored VWAP looks like in TradingView. Once you've logged into TradingView, you can find the Anchored VWAP under the Drawing Tool section, as it is not an indicator. So we'll come over here, click on the arrow and find Anchored VWAP. Next, you'll pick the spot and time you want the Anchored VWAP to start and then click that area. So for this example, we'll go to Tuesday, May 21st at 6:30 a.m. Click, and then we'll see that it starts calculating the Anchored VWAP from that moment. When the Anchored VWAP appears, you'll see a few different items. First, the inner blue line is the Anchored VWAP. On either side of that, you'll see green lines with shaded regions. These identify one standard deviation from the Anchored VWAP point. This information can be changed, updated, or removed in the settings. If you want to adjust the starting position, simply find the large dot at the beginning of the channel and click and drag that to where you'd like to move it to. Now that we know how to activate the Anchored VWAP, let's take a look at how we can implement it into a trading strategy. For this example, I have open a 1-hour chart of the S&P Mini. I'm going to go to the Anchored VWAP and tell it to start calculating at the first trading day of the year. I've already gone into settings and added a second band. You can always add another if you'd like. Immediately, we can see that since early February, the S&P Mini futures have traded back and forth between the upper 1 and 2 bands. Anytime it's dipped below it, it's been bought back up and reached the upper band. If we knew nothing else, this would be enough to create a simple trading strategy. Since the market is trading consistently over the upper 1 standard deviation band, it signifies market participants willing to keep buying this well above the average price for the year. In fact, they're willing to buy futures outside of 1 standard deviation higher. That's a particularly bullish indicator and one that confirms the market melt-up underway. There's other ways to use Anchored VWAP as well, not just with entering and exiting the market. We can use it to manage positions and trades or trail our stop losses. Here on Monday, May 13th, at the open, price sold off and it retraced back to VWAP. If we got short and wanted to trail a stop, we could easily put it above the VWAP and exit at one of these two bands. Let's go over some common mistakes and how to avoid them. When traders first find out about Anchored VWAP and see it working so well as support and resistance, they assume it will continue to do so. This leads them to doubling down on positions and taking some hefty losses. Like everything in the market, things can and will change. Anchored VWAP can work for a period, but you never want to assume it will work forever. In our example on the 1-hour charts, we can obviously see that it was trading between the upper 1 and 2 bands. However, that pattern will most likely not exist forever. So here we can see it respected it here, but then started breaking to the downside and eventually traded back to the Anchored VWAP. This brings me to the second most common mistake, which is leaving your anchor point. If we have a break in market structure, it might be a good time to re-anchor your VWAP. So we can delete the existing one and add a new one, let's say at the first day of April. Since we've re-anchored our VWAP, now we can see a much different story being told. Price is trading below typically the Anchored VWAP and below the 1 and 2 standard deviation. The last common mistake is more subtle, but it's to realize the closer you are to the anchor point, the more volatile VWAP will be and the less reliable it will be. There's no specific time when Anchored VWAP or traditional VWAP goes from wacky to useful. It's just more about common sense. You want there to be enough volume that there's an established VWAP traders would use as a reference point. Finally, Anchored VWAP is an incredible tool that more traders should take advantage of. It's easy to set up and use in TradingView on stocks and futures charts. That's all we have for you today. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any future questions, please visit us at optimusfutures.com. Thank you.